This is a really great setup we've got going here. We've got a lot of good people here. We're going to be talking about various solutions, particularly on accessing data and having collaborative workflows and how that works out, and of course how that'll focus into the new normal. So we've got a great lineup of people here. We will actually go through a few slides just to get everybody up to speed on what's going on with the session, and then we will get into the panel session, and that's when we'll start to address the questions. So I'm going to go over to Mark and from Boxer, and go ahead, Mark.
Hi, hello everybody. Great to see everybody today. I was going to talk a little bit about some of the things that have kind of led us to where we are this year. I think one way or another, we have to say it's been quite an odd year. Look around, and I think this slide probably says more than anything. As we know, yesterday was the anniversary of lockdown in the UK, and so much has happened in that 12 months. And as I say, this slide says an awful lot. I think we're at a point where lots of things that we said never could happen have happened, and we've had to adapt and find new ways of working. And it's been quite insane. I've referred to this as our Apollo 13 moment. It's the world's Apollo 13 moment, but it certainly is. We found this in TV and film and media. It's a great film. I love it. It's an unusual film where the engineers are the heroes too. And I think this shot here was when they worked out exactly where we were and where we had to get to. I think we looked down and realized, we've got to get on with this. And where we came to, if you remember the film, this was the round peg in the square hole moment. What we had to do was to get the mission working with what they had on the ship. They couldn't pop into Radio Shack or Tandy and get what they needed. They had to use what they had on the ship. And in this case, it was to get a round carbon monoxide filter to fit in a square hole. And we had exactly the same thing happened in our world. How do we make this work? What do we do? So we started looking for things to make remote editing work. So we were looking at solutions like Teradici, for example, to get remote editing and share desktops. We were looking at some, dirty cloud solutions, for want of a better term. I just need to be able to share stuff. I need to get stuff to editors who are at home. Perhaps we just physically, literally moved a machine to the editor's home and made it work that way. And then, start off, there were people shipping around lacy drives. And then it sort of gradually, toughened up as people worked out what they were going to do, used a bit of Amazon, used a bit of, Dropbox even. How do we make this work? Also, people moved some of their, on-prem to the cloud. And some of these things just, I guess, hasten things that were already there. There was a period perhaps where, we can't do that in the cloud. It's just not possible. And we went from there to actually we have made it work because engineers and technical directors and CTOs were given really the chance to just try stuff. We have no other option. Try it and let's see if we can make it work. It's been, it's been a pretty weird time, but it's really, really impressive to see what people were able to do under very trying circumstances. But we're gradually coming to, I guess, to the end of that point. Hopefully we have a vaccine, we have people gradually returning to work, and we have people addressing. I hate to say it, if I say the new normal, I normally expect to be fined £1, but we will have a new world that we have to look at. And we have this transitional moment. We're going to go back to the office. I don't think we're going to go back to the office the way we were before. We have people who want to work from home now and don't want to go back to 5 days in London, perhaps. And we have people who want to do a bit of both. I think you've got the sort of, the hybrid working, maybe 2 days in the office, 3 days at home or something, seems to be very much, what people are hearing again and again. So where we are is really, just about to look into this and embrace this properly. And, going back to that sort of what we did before was make something work with what we had. Now we're kind of, I guess, going to move forward and work out how to do it properly, how to harden the systems that we have and how to make them, work better for the future. And we have to plan for this happening again. We hope to God it doesn't. But, up until now, you could always be the person that said, nobody saw this coming. Now it's happened. We have to assume that one day it might happen again. So we need to make sure our systems are flexible and capable of dealing we're capable of dealing with, whatever happens, whatever comes up. So we're looking to make systems that are more flexible. We're looking to make things that will work, hopefully, on-prem, between offices, or in the cloud, wherever it might be, so that we can service people wherever they want to be. And as part of that, I put this exit sign up here for egress costs, and to remind me, I think where we are right now is we've had people move to the cloud. We had a load of people suddenly rush to the cloud. We've had people sort of move wholesale. But really what we're seeing now that there's been a few years of significant cloud working on its own, that people are starting to understand the true costs of it. So I think early on we had, this misunderstanding perhaps that just throwing it in the cloud would be almost costless. It's just in the cloud. But the cloud takes running. We need somebody to operate it. You need trained and skilled people in-house to make that work. It's not zero engineer cost. You need to have, accreditations for the cloud providers. And you also need to understand that cloud providers themselves aren't necessarily 100% uptime. There have been outages in some areas, but it is definitely right for other things. And we also have seen, I can think of a couple of great examples in our world that I've seen customers have realized that their entire cloud storage is secured on one person's private credit card. They didn't find out till that credit card, expired, and suddenly they couldn't get access to their media. So, I think we're looking for a place where we understand how that works, how the cloud works, how our on-prem works, and are there hybrid options that will work? And we want to know where our costs are going to be. So an example recently, NASA had costed to put something like 240 petabytes of data in the cloud. They realized shortly after they hadn't costed for the egress costs of that data, getting it back from the cloud, which costs money. So there are hidden costs there if you're not careful, and it happens to the best of people. So this is one of the reasons that we came to Qumulo in the first place. But, Qumulo offers, storage that works on-prem, on the ground. It works between offices. It synchronizes. It has all the tools built in to work in those different environments. It can work in a hybrid model with the cloud, or it can be just in the cloud if you want to deploy it that way. And the way it works in general, again, when it's in the cloud and the way it's running on the instances in the cloud areas, you're not paying egress costs when it is there. So you've got a performance level and you've got a cost level that you understand, that you know. So, I think flexibility is the key to absolutely everything we do. I think we're trying to understand now when we're architecting systems, we're looking at all of these things in place. We're trying to help people understand the true cost of the cloud. And that's to say that sometimes cloud options do make sense. There's many options where a cloud approach is good. And there's a difference between a sort of general purpose cloud and compute, and running systems like Qumulo in a performance mode, perhaps in the cloud. We also have this hybrid model where we might want to work on the cloud for some things, but on-prem for others, and mirror and synchronize between the two. Or we might want to work on-prem and, again, synchronize and work across different clusters and across different buildings. And the way Qumulo works has been excellent, that as we'll see in a little bit more time. So, yeah, I think we say that really only Qumulo has found those options to work. And if I leave you with one slide, it's this, I feel we're not in Kansas anymore. I think when we go back to work and when people are reappraising how their systems work and how their installations are and where their people are going to be, we need to understand how to approach it, and flexibility and approaches like Qumulo's are definitely going to be part of that solution. Thank you.
I love your Apollo 13 comment there, Mark. It actually feels more like a Mars trip, but to go and come back again. But that's a great analogy on that, and certainly we do have issues, and no question, understanding the costs are important. So Ian, how about you take it away?
So thanks, Mark, for that. So yes, just wanted to give people a bit of an understanding of what Qumulo is and where we play. So Qumulo has been in around the storage business for about 6, 7, 8, 9 years, that sort of time, depending whether when we got first built and then when we first delivered technology. We found a lot of applications in the media entertainment space, and that's been a very good area for us to work in. So who is Qumulo? So Qumulo is a company. We've been around since 2012. We were founded by the people who first founded Isilon. So we came from that background, and we're a headquarters over in Seattle, Washington. We've grown to about 400 staff now across the world. And we first delivered technology out into the business in 2015. And we're in sales regions around the world now. So we're fully around the globe. So we've been developing this technology. We started in 2012, and we have an agile software development methodology. So we're delivering technology from the start in 2015 when we first came to market, and we've been delivering newer functionality throughout that time as a rapid innovation that we try and do. So we've done everything from basing our technology on our own hardware to HP hardware. So HP is now an OEM of ours. We're available in the cloud, as Mark mentioned. We're available in AWS and GCP, so we're in both of those. We also quickly took on the ability of serving a lot of our data out of very high-performance NVMe flash. So we have an NVMe flash, either all flash or a hybrid type mechanisms. And then we've also done various things to do with it, bringing other technologies out there that you'd expect, things like how to encrypt your data at rest, how to give ability for the system to do role-based administration, all these things that are really required as you start to growing into an enterprise type system. So this is a quick overview of what the technology looks in its entirety. We call our software the Qumulo Core. It's a file system and the protocol stacks and everything around it, and that's actually in the system. And what we've delivered is an enterprise-grade file system with all the features you would expect. And we've split them up into sort of seven data services, as we call it. I won't go through them all because there's quite a lot of stuff in there. But things, for example, Qumulo Scale, and the ability to scale simply from 4 nodes up to 100 nodes, from tens of terabytes up into tens of petabytes in a single namespace. The ability for Qumulo Aware. So Qumulo Aware is the ability for the system to actually deliver high-performance, real-time analytics to actually see what's going on in your system. That's really important for an on-prem system, but almost imperative for in the cloud. And then there may be things like Qumulo Protect. So Qumulo Protect gives you the ability to protect your data, whether it's whether you're encrypting it through the wire or at rest, and give you all the other types of protections. So the snapshots, the replication, and all of those things. So this is what we've delivered, and we delivered in two main formats, as you see on. So there's either Cloud Queue or Server Queue, as you call it. Server Queue is the ability to deliver it on-prem on hardware, either on our own hardware, either on Fujitsu hardware, or as I mentioned with HP hardware, they're an OEM vendor of ours. But then again, you can want to deliver this in the cloud. So we made this product a software-defined storage, so it can live on other hardware. So it's not bound to an appliance. So it runs natively in AWS and natively in Google Cloud. So it allows you to build the configuration and configure the systems that you want in there. And finally, wrapping around it all, something that we're very proud of is our Qumulo Care. And that's a proactive support tech capability, which allows us to provide a very high touch, very responsive support organization built around our proactive monitoring, and it delivers really great customer support. And we're quite pleased at the moment. It's sitting, Net Promoter Score is the way to work out how well it's doing, and it's currently sitting at a score of 91 at the moment, which is highest we've ever been, I think. And we've been in the 80s for about a year and a half. So people really love the support experience that they get. So how can you configure a Qumulo? So what you do is you have many different versions of it. So here we've got a very simple diagram. It shows Qumulo. You can put it on-prem and you can scale it up to the size you want. We come in and size it for the particular application. So maybe the codecs, the number of video streams, that sort of things. And then you can deliver the same sort of technology in the cloud, and the two can talk to each other. So you build your cloud environment up, and the two can talk to each other using replication. We've also just released a product called Qumulo Shift, and that's a product which allows to move the data from the Qumulo file system into an S3 in an S3 bucket, and that allows you. And the great thing about that, as usual, we've made the data transparent or vanilla, so we're not changing the data on the way. So you can use maybe AI or machine learning services in AWS to process your data, maybe transcode it or do voice to text or anything of those things. So that's the sort of things that we do, and those are sort of configurations that we work with. And that as Mark has mentioned, a lot of people need a blend of those, depending on how they're doing their work now, whether it's all on-prem, part off-prem, some in the cloud, all those things. And you can mix and match that to make the solution that you need to provide the workflow that you need for your operations. So who have we sold to? So we've sold into quite a number. This is just a small subset of the people, actually the people we can mention, because there's quite a few we can't mention on here. So everybody from CineSite recently just sold a whole load of storage into CineSite in the UK. We've also got them as a customer over in Canada as well. We've got Vexel, who do aerial scanning, aerial imagery and things like that. Got various other large ones, so Deluxe and Deluxe One, and we got they're a very large user of our technology with their video pipeline systems. So MSG Networks, Madison Square Gardens, another huge entertainment company, is standardized on Qumulo software. And of course, here you can see also in the middle there is Leap. So we're very, very lucky to have my customer Leap on the call with us, as Aidan Taub is on the call with us. And what we'll do now is hand over to Aidan, and he can go through and talk a bit about what he's done with our technology, how well it's worked, and give you an honest view of how he's found the technology to be. Over to you, Aidan.
Hi there, Ian. Thanks for that. Thanks for the introduction. That's why we chose Qumulo and Boxer to implement our storage. They seem to really get what we were trying to do as a company, and they obviously understand the stresses of the industries that we're in. Whilst we're here to talk about storage, I think it might be a little helpful to let you know what we do and a little bit about who we are at Leap, to put our usage case in context. We offer a wide range of creative services, from print and press to video production and global transcreation translation services, alongside web design and development. I put a 60-second show reel in the deck so you can watch this, and hopefully 60 seconds will go by in a whiz and you'll have a better understanding of who we are and what it is we do at Leap. Great. So as you can see, we support a lot of high-end clients, many in the beauty and the finance sectors, and we support them in a very diverse way. So no two workflows are the same, and we have some very large files flying around all over the place. I personally joined Leap from the post-production side of things. I was originally an offline editor making commercials in Soho whilst also running the IT. So it's possible I might be the least technical person here, which speaks volumes about how easy it is to work with the Qumulo cluster that we have. When the post house I was in joined the Leap family, I brought with me an aging Xsan, some NAS backups, a ton of laces. And when I got there, I found 3 separate, independent, outdated RAID setups in place, each with their own mirror, backup, archive solution, and therefore problem. So going forward, one system for each department wasn't going to work. So we clearly had an issue of obsolete stuff, which led me to look for a new way of thinking about storage that would grow with the company, offer us unparalleled flexibility, and also develop as the business and the industry progress. So lots of searching, and I still hadn't found the right fit. But after one chat with the Qumulo team and Boxer at BVE, I think it was 2019, I knew we had our solution. It had to be flexible. It had to suit our in-house production and post teams, as well as our studio, our graphics, our language, digital departments. It had to replace about 5 different obsolete systems with one centralized, easy to monitor platform, all whilst offering the very highest levels of security and compliance, and also provide us with a road to the cloud, something I was quite keen on. So August 2019, we moved offices and the new cluster was set up on site and ready to migrate to. We knew we were getting a significant upgrade from a hardware point of view, and yet we were still really surprised with the throughput and the capability of the system that they'd spec'd up for us. We set up 5 edit suites and a grading suite on a dedicated 10 gig network. We kept our language and our studio department on 1 gig with loads of bandwidth and room to upgrade when we need to. And finally, one dashboard to monitor everything. At a glance, I can see who's using what resources, I can see where our large files are, and I can plan our jobs accordingly. The data analytics running in the background mean that Qumulo will probably know of any issues before my users complain to me, but thankfully that hasn't happened yet. And if I've got any questions, I think Ian mentioned Qumulo Care. The Qumulo engineers, they run an excellent Slack channel, and it gives me instant access to their wealth of knowledge and also a great chance to question other Qumulo customers about their setups and their solutions. We've also moved our virtual machines over to the Q, so we've improved their performance, and they also benefit from Qumulo's snapshot ability as well now, which is just an added bonus. And then 2020 here, as Mark alluded to, lockdown, pandemic. So whilst everyone else was panicking, we couldn't have been in a better situation, storage-wise, that is. We had a resilient on-prem solution, but we could mirror any part of it in AWS. We could spin up and replicate the entire cluster in EC2 if we needed to, and thankfully it didn't come to that. For those of us that had the bandwidth, we could VPN into the office and work remotely. We could move edit machines around and still connect them to the network. But we can also share individual projects with our vast network of freelancers for our global transcreation work, or just to harness additional VFX talent here in the UK. Something that would have been a logistical nightmare beforehand. When I first met the Ians, as I call them, the Ians at BVE, I asked them if we'd be able to mirror or replicate to S3, and they assured me it was on their roadmap. And with their rapid innovation, it was a few months later, shift to S3 was announced and rolled out with, I think it was core version 3.2.1, and then the web UI followed pretty quickly afterwards. So that leads me on to this, which I'm just going to try and run in the background and talk over it. The upgrade process. Here we go. In the past, is that right? There we go. In the past, I don't know about everyone else, but I dreaded version upgrades. So this is the interface you can see in the background, and this is me on Sunday running an update to our platform. Perhaps it was coming from an Xsan background, but upgrades tended to break more things than any new functionality was worth. Lots of companies I'd worked with had stopped upgrading altogether because it just worked the way it was. But I like shiny new features, and we needed the security updates, and Qumulo just don't stop rolling them out. So the process is really simple. You saw me just type in the upgrade path there. Since version 3.3.2, they've separated the file and the data protection systems from the host that runs the OS. The upgrade process has 2 phases, prepare and ARM, and all this is happening in the background. The prepare phase stages the new image on an alternate boot drive partition, while the current core image continues to run, and that's responsible for all the background work. And once the prepare phase is complete, it moves on to the ARM phase. The old container's stopped, which is probably happening any second now. The new one's started. If it's a platform upgrade, it will initiate a reboot, which you can see there. But if it's an instant software upgrade, one of the new features that's come out, the cluster downtime, they've assured me, will be 30 seconds or less. And there we go. Some customers have actually scripted this, running monthly, all automated, and it's been flawless. There you have it, version 4.03 updated with security enhancement for the web server, an important bug fix in place for the mixed node clusters, and virtually no downtime. So no errors or alerts from any of the connected applications, which sure beats any other upgrade process I've ever had to deal with before. So one other thing before I hand over to Ian Marcroft, we all know, and Mark reminded us, that cloud storage can get really pricey. Those unexpected egress fees are not something I want to have to explain to my boss. So I thought that the Qumulo shift to S3 would work better for us here at Leap if we could move our data to an S3 bucket that didn't have unexpected costs. And a few tests later, I was up and running, moving data seamlessly to Wasabi for about 1/5 of the cost. So you can say I was quite happy with that. It's time to hand over to Ian, Qumulo's own Ian Marcroft, to demo what else they've been working on in the cloud.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do now is just to give you an idea of the sort of thing I'm just going to show you in a demo here, live demo, and just to solidify a bit more on what a lot of the other guys were talking about. So this here gives you an idea of the remote workflow in AWS. And this is what I'll show you in a second. It just sort of hooks in with the Qumulo core software that Ian was talking about earlier. And what we're going to look at here is obviously an artist, which will be me. I use the term loosely, an artist. I'm just going to be Teradici, a PC over IP session connecting into a Windows client, sitting in AWS, and it's sitting in my VPC in AWS, which is important because when we talk about being cloud native, it's all about the ability to actually run these things on EC2 instances running in your VPC. So you want them secure in your VPC and not necessarily in a data center close by. And we're going to be attaching to that over an SMB share. I can, of course, use SMB and NFS at the same time. So it's a multi-protocol file system connecting onto some Qumulo nodes, and then we're going to be doing sort of work that you would expect an editor to be doing in the cloud. So what does each of the components look like? So what they represent. So the Qumulo cluster itself will see, and if you're not familiar with the EC2 dashboard, we'll see these as 4 instances here, and showing you my instance type. So the beauty about the cloud is I can be very flexible as far as it can be bigger or slower instance types, depending on my performance in the cloud, but also by adding more nodes, I can add more performance bandwidth as well. So we've got a really great story on scale. We don't have limitations on scale in the cloud. We don't have 100 terabyte capacity limits in the cloud. We've got, we can scale as much as you need it. As far as the editor's concerned, as I say, I've got a PC over IP session coming in to an editor, which is running an instance. And then getting access to that, I can do it with 2 ways. I can either use some form of Teradici 0 client, which can be pre-configured and shipped out to an editor, or I can install a software client on a MacBook, which is what I've got here, sitting, in my environment. So I just want to jump on and share my screen. Hopefully this technology is going to work. So yeah, so what I'm showing here, as I said, these are the 4 Qumulo nodes, which I had in my presentation, and then I've actually got 4 editors running in this environment. So this environment here will support 4 editors running simultaneously on a Qumulo cluster, and I've got these running at the moment. I can, if I want these to be in a burst edit environment, I may only want this environment up and running for a short period of time, so a couple of months, and I can stop this and leave it as stopped instances in the cloud and start them up again if I need to at any point in the future, or I can terminate them off. And as Ian and also Aidan was talking about, the ability to move off to S3, so the data we can actually push off to S3 from the cluster before we tear it down if we want to preserve it in the cloud without pulling back egress charges. So as far as what that looks like from logging in, so this is my my software client itself. So I've connected into that actual editor 1. So this editor at the top here, I've connected into that via my software client here. And this is what we've got visibility of. So you can see from this client here, I've mapped 2 SMB shares. So I've got a P drive and a U drive here. This P drive has got all my project data on it. So I can share all these resources with other editors, etc. And then if I just hook into our snapshotting technology, so our snapshotting technology, I've created a snapshot schedule, which I'll show you in a minute on the GUI, and that hooks in nicely into previous versions here. So I've got the ability to jump back to different timestamps here, and my user itself, he can recover his own projects if he's happened to deleted a project, got a problem with a project. We can certainly recover from a previous version of a project, if we need to, via our snapshotting technology. So if we have a look at the dashboard here, this is our Qumulo dashboard. It's exactly the same management interface as you get with an on-premise cluster, or with a cluster running in AWS or GCP. Exactly the same look and feel, and the same one that you actually saw Aidan demonstrating a moment ago. So the dashboard, great, gives me some great analytics about what's going on with cluster activity within my environment here. I can check out real time what performance metrics are being pulled by each of those clients. If I want to come here and have a look at this snapshotting, I've got a 10-minute schedule here. You perhaps might not want to have something so aggressive as a 10-minute snapshot schedule, but you can create yourself a snapshot schedule, and we can actually look at our snapshots that have been created here. And also looking at this the copy to S3 functionality that we spoke about. So moving data from a particular folder on the Qumulo to a bucket in S3 or Wasabi or other flavors, as you might want to test out. So that gives you a great service there. And if we look at our analytics here, so I can, as I was saying, look at real time what's going on with my clients. I can see that I've got these 4 clients here running. I can see exactly what sort of throughput and IAP numbers these clients are running, and also what they're running, what files and they're running, etc. in the environment. So I've got full visibility of my data analytics and see where the performance in this file system is being eaten up by, if we want to be able to easily troubleshoot an environment. So that's the cluster interface itself. So as far as running Adobe Prem, if I'm an editor, I've got the ability. So here I've got Adobe Prem installed on this machine, and I've got some assets loaded. That's a picture there of a Zero client. And then you've got all the usual editing capabilities that you'd expect to have from a PC sitting under your desk that you've been working on in the office. You can now be working at home and logging into this environment and being able to scrub and use this the Premiere environment as you would expect to use. Okay, so that's the end of the demo. I'm just going to hand back to the panel.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Ian. I love that dashboard. Absolutely, the dashboard is no question. It's the best as far as that goes. And integration with Slack. You get the notices. You get to see. It's just amazing. Anyway, let's get on with the question here. We've got a few coming in. If you've got any questions, do put them in the Q&A panel. I've got quite a few that have come in so far. So the first question here is, how does Qumulo support a multi-cloud strategy?
Yeah, so I'll take that one, yeah. So,
if you want, go on, you take it in, yeah.
Yeah, so, absolutely, we support multi-cloud strategy. We can, as we were talking about earlier, because we're a software-defined file system, we can run in any cloud vendors that we want to, and we can collaborate between the two as well. So I could have a cluster, the cluster I've just shown you in AWS, I can spin one up very easily in GCP as well, and I can replicate data between those two clouds as well. So if I want to be able to use AWS as my primary, for example, my primary file system, and I can replicate to a DR if I want in GCP. So if we're trying to protect ourselves from a cloud outage, I suppose a recent one was was seen by most people not too long ago. So we can actually, as I say, replicate that data into a separate cloud, and give you the ability then to be able to bring your data up in an alternative cloud provider.
Yeah. So let's get on to the next question here. This one may get a little more detail into technical. How does Qumulo integrate with S3 cloud storage? And don't just tell me very well. Who wants to pick that one up? Maybe the other Ian.
Yes, I can pick that one up. Yeah, so we integrate into AWS S3 directly from our Shift product. So the Shift product allows you to move data on a scheduled basis up into the cloud. You can pick a directory, you can pick a subdirectory, you can pick the whole Qumulo cluster and move the whole data up there, or you can go down to a very small subset of that. And what it does is it moves us up into the S3. But one of the things it doesn't do, like a lot of other storage systems, they use cloud as a place to dump old data. And typically what they do is they dump it in there and then they encrypt it and make it such that it's only accessible through the Qumulo file server. So you basically lock that data to us. So we don't do that. We've actually made the data vanilla. We don't actually change it at all. It's very transparent and allows goes into a native format. So you can push it up into the cloud and do whatever you need to do on it. And as Aidan mentioned, this is a product that we are developing at this moment. So the shift back functionality is coming out any day now. So that will allow you to move the data back directly from the cloud into the Qumulo cluster and have the whole life cycle. So because we're an agile software development house, we deliver products and we develop them a sort of piece at a time, and this is where we've got to with the Shift product. And as Aidan showed you, you can also use it with other S3 compatible things like Wasabi. So that's great to see as well.
Yeah, that's great. So let's get on to a question here. I think probably Aidan and Mark can answer this, but we'll start with Aidan. Maybe, during the upgrade process, what disruption did you notice for your clients, if any?
I always follow best practice and make sure there's nobody actually on the system when I'm running them. But I've had other machines logged on and mounted. Honestly, no disruption whatsoever. Most of the times, the SMB shares don't even drop off whilst the system's rebooting. You'd have to ask one of the Ians why that is or how that is. But in the scheme of things, what with 4 nodes all running at the same time, I think they must stagger them somehow. Because when the reboot happens, I can almost be browsing a folder structure. I wouldn't want to be editing on it at the same time, but certainly having a window open doesn't seem to kick it off.
I can probably add to that. I think it's different than any of the storage systems I've seen. And one of the problems with a lot of products that we've dealt with in the past, we might sell them into a customer and we'd be going back in to do maintenance in the future. And you find out that people haven't touched haven't touched the software. They've done 0 updates since it was installed. And there's a sort of a certain engineering way of if it's not broke, don't fix it. So, I can kind of understand that. But also quite often those software updates come out fairly infrequently. And when they do, they're large, so a big update takes a long time, takes users down for a couple of hours. These things take a long time. And the way Qumulo works is as Ian said, they're an agile house. So the software drops, at much shorter periods of time. So you're doing a smaller incremental upgrade. So it's not as scary. It's not changing as much. So, it's far less danger when you're going between them. And that sort of brings the time down. And also typically they're adding functionality quite quickly because of the way it works, and you basically get all of the options. It's not a tiered licensing system. It means they're often adding functionality, and that's quite good. But one of the things we saw in the early days, when people upgraded the software, the performance improved. They were literally, and I've never seen that before. Most systems don't get faster as they get older, but they're actually improving and optimizing code and optimizing the I/O performance of the storage. So there's lots of good reasons to upgrade, rather than, I'm not going to touch it. It's delivering something. I'm getting new features. I'm getting better performance. So, if it's simple, why wouldn't I do it?
One feature we released just before, I think it was about September time, was we enabled encryption at rest throughout the whole of our portfolio of technologies. So it's on by default. And that just comes in, and as you said, it's part of the subscription. It's not an extra cost to going. We're not putting in self-encrypting drives or anything crazy like that. And that was just a software feature. And then, as Aidan's just mentioned, we brought out super fast upgrades. So they used to take about 90 seconds to do the system was unavailable for 90 seconds. Now it's less than 20, and it's usually not seen by any of the clients. So these are the sorts of things that we're bringing into the system on a regular basis, and they'll continue going forward as we break new area and bring out new features and functionality.
That's an incredible.
It's also worth saying
speed.
while we're talking along those lines, is one of the things that first interested me when one of the engineers showed me Qumulo was just the behind the scenes stuff it does, because a lot of stuff is real time. If you want to actually look at your performance, you can go to a dashboard and literally watch the I/O performance of your system, and you can change it. You can give more performance to a node, or restructure it live. A lot of systems, if you want to go and just look at your data, just show me where my data is, show me what my performance is like. It might take a day and a half to tree walk and check every file. That's just the way big file systems work. Qumulo's file system isn't like that. It is a real-time system. So if I'm getting a hotspot, I'm finding I'm getting a lack of performance somewhere, I can literally go in and look at the I/O on that network adapter and understand what's going on, and perhaps reprovision and rebalance the system, in a very straightforward way. And that's just something that I don't think I've ever seen on the system before. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, I can speak to that. When large files hit the system, I'm the first one to know about it. People don't come to me and complain that things are slowed down, because I get it in real time. I can see what's going on as it happens.
So a question here, just to follow up what Mark was saying there. You were talking about workload balancing and stuff like that. So what media and entertainment workloads are usually supported by your storage?
Yeah, it's pretty much any workflow you can think of, really. I mean, I've just shown you an edit workflow, post-production edit. Ian mentioned earlier CineSite. So CineSite use our system for VFX rendering. So we're very strong in the VFX render workflow. They do render on-prem and they do render in the cloud as well. So you're able to do both workflows depending on your performance requirements. You just build your cluster out to match that performance requirement. We've also got on our website, you can see some workflows around video production, video archive systems, playout systems. Pretty much any workflow you can think of we'll hook into. We've got the node types that we have can match any form of performance. I mean, as Ian went into some of the different node types we have, we've got everything from NVMe all flash systems all the way down to active archive systems to meet those particular workflows.
Yeah, so you talk about active archive. What about simple DR?
Yeah, absolutely. So the same thing applies. I mean, we can use our active archive nodes as DR. It really depends. I mean, we typically tend to do sizing exercises with customers to understand what it is they want to do with DR. So we have a lot of customers with different needs. Do I want a DR system that's going to sit there and be passive all the time? If so, is an active archive system, that probably would be okay. Depending on if I want to invoke DR, what am I going to do after I've invoked DR? What am I going to expect as far as performance is concerned? And we've got also a lot of customers that don't want to have a passive DR system. They actually have got two sites. They want both sites to be active. So they want to actually run active-active. So yes, I can have two sites. Yes, I can replicate data structures between one site and the other for DR purposes, but I'm going to serve data live from both instances and have my clients connecting to both sides.
Yeah, I think that's one of the most important key things is if you don't try out your DR system, how do you know it's really going to work? You're going to keep that, keep that active.
The first time you try it.
Yeah, keep it active and try out both sides of things. Speaking of trying things out, if you want to try out Qumulo, how do you do that?
Yeah, so if you visit our website, we've got a button in the top right-hand corner which says "Try it now," and that actually builds you an environment. We're not just about, okay, download a piece of software and try and build it all yourselves in your own environment. We actually give you a fully working environment there to play with, and that's goes into showing you how simple it is to scale an environment by adding nodes, and also about looking at some of the things I was showing you there about share creation and what those shares look like and creating snapshots. So give you a true hands-on experience with our software, and not just a download link, which means you need to spend a lot of hours trying to get an environment built to give you some sort of a better way of kicking the tires, really.
Yeah, sounds great. We got a couple other questions here. I think we'll take them offline. I'll just turn it over here to Mark to see if he's got any more comments.
Yeah, I think that on the DR side of things there, I think, I think we're changing what DR means now. And actually, I think the last 12 months has made us think a little bit more, working between offices. If we have two offices, we should be sharing, and we should enable that. And as that's standard within Qumulo, that makes that really easy. And I think the concepts of, of net, this idea of a cold DR now, perhaps is going to move away a bit. Just throwing it, to the cloud to hide it is probably not good enough. And so I think Qumulo makes that, really, really straightforward in my experience. So yeah, I think they're probably the keys. I mean, it works with just about anything. The way it presents itself, is pretty neutral to the client. And what we have been doing is we've been doing uncompressed 4K with Qumulo, as well as doing low-end proxy streaming. So it really does fit everywhere. The other point is it truly scales, and that's something that we don't often say. A lot of systems recently have started to find their endpoints as because things haven't been moving around as much during lockdown. Things have just been getting bigger. We haven't hit the end yet of a Qumulo system, and that's something, again, a little while ago I never thought would be a problem, but hey ho, it's another one of those problems that I didn't expect to find in the last 12 months. So we know that you're safe there. So there are so many great reasons to look at Qumulo.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, we had no idea what was going on and how things fit into place on that, Mark. I did have a comment that came in on the question there, Aidan. People really loved your reel there. Great graphics.
Oh, great, lovely, nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Anyway, I appreciate everybody coming in the panel here. Certainly, we've had a great setup here and discussion as well. I think it's good. Not only are we talking about the product, we've got some people that have actually been using it in place. I'm totally amazed by the upgrade speed. I can't even upgrade an app on my phone at that speed. So that's absolutely incredible what you guys are doing and keeping things as seamless as possible. And as well, allowing people to manage their storage. Certainly, costs of getting things into and out of the cloud is horrendous. And like you said, people are just suddenly noticing that when their credit cards bounce and on and on. So that's absolutely fantastic. So thanks again for the webinar today. I'll crank it over here just to Ian for a couple of final words.
Yes, thank you, Stan. Thanks very much for that. And thanks, everybody, for joining us. Here's a list of the people who are talking. So if you want to get in contact with any of us, either at Qumulo, for Ian and Ian, for Aidan over at Leap, and Mark Risby at Boxer Systems. So do contact us if you've got any further questions. If you want to talk about storage and what we're doing with it, then absolutely do chat with us. Hopefully it's been useful for everybody today. I mean, give us feedback whether this information was interesting, or what else do you want in the next one. So anyhow, so thanks for your time. Thanks Mark, and thanks Aidan for your time today. Very interesting, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.